Bowers welcoming you to Dialogue at E+ TV6 as we pay a virtual visit to the West Tennessee Delta Heritage Center. We'll be talking with Sonia Outlaw Clark, who's the executive director of this program. Sonia, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me along. I'm excited to show you the center.
All right, well, we look forward to it. The center's located at exit 56, just north of Interstate 40 in Brownsville, Tennessee. And Sonia, the center got started how?
It was the brainchild of a former mayor about 20 years ago who thought our proximity on Interstate 40 with over 35,000 cars a day coming by was the perfect location to have a tourist information center. And since that time, we've kind of evolved into a music heritage destination.
I was happened to be working the tourism conferences during that decade, and that's where I met Webb Banks, and when he caught the vision, right, Brownsville, Tennessee, just north of the interstate, we're headed south, we're going to take over the interstate, we're going to do something.
That's right. And he got our chamber director on board, who was Sandra Silverstein at that time, and it's kind of like they say, the rest is history. But they worked really hard to make all of this happen.
I remember when Mayor Banks found the building, and I asked him, I happened to be over there because they were cleaning it up and all, and when they had in the process of purchasing it, I guess. And I said, "What are you going to do?" And he said, "I'm not sure yet, but we're going to make something special here." And that's what it turned out. How did the content of the center evolve?
Well, we have 3 regional museums inside the actual Delta Heritage Center, which was originally a Western Sizzlin Steakhouse.
Okay.
So yeah, it was refurbished from a restaurant. The 3 museums were actually done at different times and by different organizations. Our West Tennessee Cotton Museum was a product of a local farmer, Mr. James Hughes. His gin manager and assistant actually got busy and put all of that exhibit together back then and found all the primitive equipment and things like that.
Okay.
Then our West Tennessee Music Museum was done through a grant from Humanities Tennessee and the generosity of a lot of our West Tennessee musicians who donated items from their career.
Okay. And then what's the third element?
The Hatchie River Room was actually put together by the Nature Conservancy, who had an office here in Brownsville at that time. They work with the Hatchie River a lot. It's one of their 75 great places in the world to save, and they actually put that room together for them.
Okay. So we have the 3 different museums points of interest inside the main building there, and then behind that, there's the Sleepy John Estes porch and home, right?
Correct. Yes.
And that came about years later, and then this huge evolution that came about with Tina Turner. So how did that happen?
Well, in 2012, we had an opportunity to save Flag Grove School, which was the elementary school, grades 1 through 8, one-room schoolhouse that Tina Turner attended. Of course, we knew her as Anna Mae Bullock, and we had the opportunity to save that building, and it was scheduled to be torn down to make way for an irrigation system in a field. And we kind of rallied the city and local citizens and fans from all over the world, raised funds, and moved it and restored it.
Okay, wow. Did you know that building existed?
I did not until by chance the owner's wife said to me that I needed to get a desk or something out of that building before it was torn down.
Okay.
So that we could have it in the museum. And that just kind of started the ball rolling, never expecting to get the whole building, but what a treasure we have now.
So it was on their private land. They had acquired. Was it being used for anything, or?
It was used as a barn.
A barn, okay. But it
Yeah.
still had some of the desk in there.
They had just been pushed back in the corner.
Oh, wow.
It had desks, it had benches, the cubbies were still on the wall, the chalkboard was still on the wall.
Wow.
So
Amazing. So it had been how long since that had been a school?
1967 is when the farmer bought the school and the property it was sitting on from our local school system. So it had been used as a barn from 67.
67, wow. Well, it's kind of interesting because there were schools, like in Madison County, there were over 60 schools, I think, at one point, and they got consolidated through the years into what we're accustomed to today. But those buildings get away, and that's just right. So she just mentioned that she had a desk, and the school had been attended by Tina Turner. You might want the desk, and you said, "I'll take the whole building."
Well, our Dr. Carol Van West, who is the director of the Center for Historic Preservation and who is now our Tennessee historian. The next week, I was at a conference with him, and I said, I have a chance to get a desk from the school that Tina Turner attended. And he said, I've seen that building. You want the whole thing.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes,
What did it take, Sonia, to make that happen then? You said you had to raise money from fans and everything all over the world.
we did. We were fortunate enough that the city is so invested in this property and the success of tourism in Haywood County that we were able to go to the city board and request that they move the building.
Okay.
And they said yes. They said we
Okay.
will move it. We will move it to the Delta Heritage Center, but you've got to raise private funds to restore it. So
Okay. Wow. So
yeah,
went to work there. When did she find out about all this? And because she has donated many things to this museum, and that was another step in all, right?
it was. It was. We of course let her know that we were trying to save the school. We called it the school in Nutbush. Of course, when she was in Nutbush, Nutbush had the white school, and her
Right.
school was at Flag
That
Grove.
Grove. Okay.
So when we first started talking about it, she didn't exactly understand what we were talking about. She thought we were just trying to put her name on the white school. But
Okay.
once she saw pictures,
Okay.
she recognized the school and
Cool.
realized we were actually saving her school. So after that, she was totally involved.
She's been living in Europe, I understand, for many years. How were you able to make contact with her and let her know about it?
Well, fortunately, her assistant that she had had for over 50 years, phone number was still the same.
Okay. So you got through the assistant said, and finally she understood what was because she became an enthusiastic proponent of this project, right?
She did. She did. And she still stays very involved in it.
Okay. Has she been there to visit?
She's not been here in person to visit. She's seen videos and pictures, and her assistant has been here numerous
That
times.
time I was there for the dedication and all, which was special with Commissioner of Tourism. Everybody else is there. Well, that's just one of the elders. We're visiting with Sonia Outlaw Clark. She's the executive director of the Western Sea Delta Heritage Center, and getting an overview that includes the Tina Turner Museum at the Grove School where she was a student. So we're going to visit first now as we go through the museum. We're going to go first to the cotton room, right?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
So
If you want to follow me now.
yes, absolutely. We'll follow you wherever you want to go, and we'll start with the cotton room. So, Shonda, we are now in the Cotton Museum, right inside the Delta Heritage Center.
We are. We're in the West Tennessee Cotton Museum. I told you about James Hughes, a local farmer who helped us put all this together. But now I'd like to introduce you to Adriana Dunn. She is our curator here at the West Tennessee Delta Heritage Center. And I'm going to let her tell you about all the great objects and artifacts that we have here.
All right. Adriana, good to have you with us. Yeah, take it away.
Thank you. Well, Steve, thank you so much for having us on the show. It's a pleasure to meet you virtually, and I will dive right into the Cotton Museum that we're standing in right now. So the first object, which is one of my favorites because it engages both adults and children, is the cotton gin display that we have here. It is a 1/16th scale model from toy farm maker Daryl Cox, and he is originally from the Chester County area of Southwest Tennessee. And he made this scale or this 1/16th scale cotton gin farm that shows the different stages of cotton farming, all the way, from the beginning stages of when it's planted all the way to when it goes to the cotton gin, and it is packed and ready and made available to be, put and placed in and shipped off basically. So it's one of my favorites because it teaches children, it gives them an education on cotton farming, and it's also very fun to look at for them. We have a lot of kids that come in and are very interested in it. It's because it's if you can see kind of a visual, it's such a big piece within the museum. So that's one of my favorite things. It's one of the more fun things that we have here. So this is kind of the beginning. Once you walk in, it's like the thing that you see, and it's right in front of you, and it's kind of like screaming at you. So this is one of the beginning thing that I was going to discuss. As we move along in the museum, we have antique farming equipment. And one thing I love about the way that it's set up, it gives you a chronology. So we have different antique farming equipment pieces from the kind of the middle to end of the colonial period, all the way up to the 1950s. So we have here a very early roller gin. It's a cotton roller. So this is probably from, I want to say, the 19th century, like into the 1700s to the 1800s. And I love this because it shows you, very early on how cotton is being produced. Like, so once it's taken from the field, it's brought here, it's rolled through the rollers that are there, and then the seed and the cotton is separated. And so on a good day, when you're really getting your production in, you get about 5 pounds of cotton lint out of this at the end of the day, which I think is really funny compared to today, where you're getting maybe 5,000 pounds.
Okay.
So yeah, so that I think is a really neat piece in the museum. And then if you look over yonder, you'll see different antique farming equipment pieces that were used, again, from the 1800s all the way up to the 1950s, in great condition. Just some interesting history of cotton farming.
Wow.
So we'll move over here. We've got our cotton barrels. So one thing I love to do when we're on tours, we like to ask people, which one do you think is heavier? Do you think this one, the burlap barrel's heavier, or the one in plastic? And the fun thing is they're actually the same weight. They both equal 500 pounds. It just shows you the different technology. So when it's wrapped up, it's kind of loose looking in the burlap sack, which was used probably about in the 1970s up until the more modern, the cotton bale, which is all wrapped in plastic and done a lot quicker, and you have a lot more compact cotton in there as opposed to what you're working with way back in the day, and it's a lot bigger and bulkier. So it's another fun visual, and like I said, this room gives great visuals of cotton farming and the history and culture behind it. So if you guys follow me, so just another interesting thing about cotton that people may not know is that there is also colored cotton that is grown. If you have here some brownish, like dark brown colored cotton, cotton grows, you can grow cotton in different colors such as mocha, brownish red. You can do it like a darker green and or grayish kind of color. And so it's something that not, I mean, even me coming to the museum for the first time, I did not know that cotton didn't come or just came in other colors than white. I think it's really interesting because it educates people on the different types of cotton that's grown. It was something that it started as early as like, I think 5,000 years ago, in South America is where the archaeological evidence found where, indigenous peoples were growing this. But obviously in the more industrial period, when you can dye cotton, that's when it kind of
Okay.
started to become less popular just because it's so expensive to do. The fibers aren't as long, and it takes a lot more effort and labor to grow cotton such as this, as opposed to the traditional white
Right.
cotton that we
Okay.
see that has
Wow.
much longer fibers. So just another interesting
Yeah.
bit, fun facts, if you will. And then lastly, one another thing that we like to show people that come in are all the different products that come out of cotton, which you can hear and read a list off. But if you see here all the different products that come out of there, clothing materials, and then the food products that come out of cotton. I mean, it's crazy. Like everything from the seed to the fibers, the stem, everything is used, and it's very interesting to see the different things that are manufactured and utilized to that come from the cotton plant in general.
Wow.
So,
Fascinating to
all
see
right.
because we were used to, I mean, growing up, you saw a lot of cotton and cotton gins. They were everywhere, and now there are very,
Yes.
very few cotton gins left.
Yep.
And then how important it is in so many things. People don't relate cotton to all those finished products you're talking about as far as food products and everything.
It really is interesting to see. Although Haywood County is one of the biggest growers, I think it is the biggest grower of cotton in all of the counties of Tennessee. So, and it's still a big part of who we are within Haywood County and within our history. And I mean, you drive around Haywood County and you see all the cotton fields still out and about and around. So it's a big part of who we are, and we're
Yeah.
very proud of that.
It
So.
well, it changed the culture, and of course, and it created the ag culture of the plantation society, the small farms. I mean, it was important to everyone, everybody. Made,
Absolutely,
made us who we
absolutely.
are. Hey, Adriana, we're now in what the Hatchie River Museum part of the Delta Heritage Center.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so tell us what we see here.
All right, so the Hatchie River Room gives you a snapshot of the biodiversity found within West Tennessee. It is a great display of both, animal, aquatic, plant life, as well as the culture that you see out of it. So we'll start off. What you see behind me are three aquaria of the different fish species that you see coming out of the Hatchie River. Right now we have some catfish and some bluegill that are swimming in there. Again, a great way to show people physically the different types of species that are in there. And yeah, they're just very fun to look at and to see swimming around. And what I love about this is that you kind of, so we had a great mural painted. So you kind of see the inside of the water literally of with the aquarium that's right there. You see like the inside with the water with fish swimming, and then you have the visual of what the Hatchie River looks on the outside. So
Okay.
that's one of my favorite parts of this room personally. So yeah, so we have the kind of the actual living biodiversity as well as different displays to show you other species. And another one of my favorites, which is the alligator snapping turtle. This very, very big guy is, so he usually hangs out pretty much the majority of his life within um, his aquatic uh, environment. The females are the only ones that usually leave the water to go lay their eggs and go back inside. These guys can grow up to 240 pounds, but normally they stay around 40 pounds. And
Wow.
I just love coming in here and, you know, you see water there and then you see this guy and you're like, oh my gosh, am I in prehistoric times? But, and I don't know
See?
about you, Steve, but I
Yeah.
would not want to be swimming around with
Yeah.
this guy.
So he's running around in the Hatchie Bottom today somewhere.
He is.
Uh,
Unfortunately, their species in general, they're not endangered, but they are,
on the border.
they're, because of poaching and such, their populations are
Oh,
starting
you're
to
kidding.
dwindle a little bit.
So people poach
Yeah,
them for what reason?
they it's a mixture of, you know, you making good turtle soup and they want that shell, you know, you want to have that shell
Okay.
displayed in your office. But yeah,
Wow.
unfortunately, their species are not as large in population as they used to be. But yeah, I think it's a great visual. This is a replica of the alligator snapping turtle. But it just, again, another great visual of the different, like the incredible range of biodiversity that's in the Hatchie River. So so to go a little bit back in time, we have some prehistoric period fossils. Now, this is of a mastodon that you see right there. We have the humerus, and which is part of its leg bone, as well as an atlas vertebrae and a
Wow.
thoracic. Atlas vertebrae is right beneath your skull. You have one too, and then the thoracic is in the middle. And yeah, so these guys were walking around up until the Pleistocene era, which is the end of the Ice Age.
Wow.
I think it's a yeah, it's just a, again, it just shows like the amount of the objects that we have, the diversification of objects that we have, and it's just a really great thing for both kids and children, or I'm sorry, kids and adults, to see the different types of species that were and still exist
Still,
within
so
West Tennessee.
so they were in West Tennessee.
Yes, yes, they
Okay.
were at one point again until things started melting and it got warmer from the ice age. So
Okay. Wow. Glad they moved on.
yeah, yes, they've moved on. Yes.
Made room for us. Made room for some cotton. Yeah.
Oh yeah, made some roofs or cotton. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
how cotton would fare with these guys
Yeah.
walking
The guys
around.
running
So
around. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, and then another thing, actually, I'm working on some research for is we've got some different insects of West Tennessee. I'm not 100% like totally happy to always clean these guys because sometimes I do get a little afraid, like, oh, it feels like they're going to jump at me, but they're, you know, they're not
Yeah.
alive or anything like that. But it's just, it's cool to see like physically in front of you because, you know, when you're seeing bugs, you don't really want to be around them, but giving you a visual of like the different species of insects. And fun fact, insects are what make up 80% of all species in the world. Insects are the largest species of animals all over the world. So we have the eastern Dobson fly, which is an interesting, like a very large fly. They can grow up to probably around, I want
Wow.
to say maybe, yeah, they're pretty big.
Wow.
And yeah, so these are, but this just gives you a visual for things. And I think it's a great thing for people to come and see the different insect species. You have species that are no longer here, but we have evidence of, and then some replicas. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so Hatchie and some interesting history of the Hatchie. Hatchie is the Chickasaw word for river. So we do have over, if I can show you, the Chickasaw were the Native American population that were that used and occupied around the Hatchie River during the prehistoric times. So we do have some of their stone tools here.
Okay. Wow.
So
Fascinating stuff. Hey, Jonna, so we are now in the Music Museum, part of the three museums inside the main building at the West Tennessee Delta Heritage Center. I see this big mural behind you. So what am I
yes,
looking at there?
so you're looking at Yank Rachel, Hammy Nixon, and Sleepy John,
Okay.
and they are three prolific blues singers that have been known. all throughout their careers, they performed on and off with each other. They are what make blues such a integral part of West Tennessee culture. And we're very proud to have pieces of theirs within the exhibition, as well as which will go on later. The last home of Sleepy John Estes. So.
Okay, wow, okay, excellent. So what all will I see from them? And there are other people that are featured in there as well, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So West Tennessee is home of many legendary musicians. We have blues, we have rock and roll, we have gospel. And that's what makes it so special. And one of the things I personally love as curator is seeing who they were as performers. I love seeing their outfits and the costumes they wore for
Okay.
their performances. So one of my favorites, I have to say, is Denise LaSalle. She's an
Okay.
R&B singer. She's originally from West Tennessee, and yeah, so and is known as the Queen of Blues.
Right.
And I love just seeing the diversification we have as singers, but I think you see that through the clothing. And I just have to say, not only is she a very talented musician, but to pull off this outfit, you have to be quite the woman.
Yeah,
So
take no
it's
prisoners.
really
Yeah,
great.
that's right.
Yeah.
But Denise LaSalle. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and like Denise LaSalle, we have Jazzy A. She is a choreographer. She is a musician as well as a performer, an entrepreneur, a TV and radio personality. You name it, this woman has done it.
Okay.
We have her costume when she performed as Old Hen. She's incredible. Another incredible musician that we have within the collection. And again, I love having the bright, vibrant yellow outfit there to show. She performed with Bobby Rush, and this is the costume
Wow.
that she performed in.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah. So, and then another, I'm sure everybody is going to recognize this, but we have two different coats of Elvis Presley on loan to us from Graceland.
Okay.
This one was given to him by his wife Priscilla. It is a faux fur jacket with different karate patches on it. And then we have a Harley Davidson
Wow.
jacket of his. Yeah.
All
So
right. So I
pretty
didn't
neat.
realize Elvis was in the Delta Heritage Center. Okay.
He is, yes. He's on loan. We're very thankful from Graceland, and we have two of his pieces here. And how can you not have Elvis? He's all,
That's right.
he lived in Memphis, and it's great to have him here as well.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Well, we're going to go see the Sleepy John Estes Porch, and we're going to go see the Tina Turner Flag Grove School. Is that right?
That sounds great. Yeah, let's do it.
That's coming up next. So, Adriana, we are where now at the West Tennessee Delta Heritage Center?
Well, Steve, we are at the last home of Sleepy John Estes. He is or was a prolific blues singer, originally from Ripley, Tennessee, but he grew up and lived a lot of his life in Brownsville. We're standing on his porch right now. This is the last home that he lived in before he passed away in 1977. And yeah, so it's a great piece to have because it shows, the life and where he lived. He lived here with his 7 children. And his porch area, he's been known to do a lot of performances at. So what the museum loves to do every year is kind of commemorate that by doing porch performances, just like he did during his lifetime.
Wow. It's about, he worked how long? I mean, he was playing all of his life, but he recorded when, Adriana? I mean, of course, they were also very early recordings, I think, that were done.
It was, yeah, and he recorded for most of his life. He was actually about to go on tour when he passed away in 1977. He was actually about to go back to Europe and go through a European tour there.
I remember when they brought the home first because they had it in Brownsville before they moved it out there, and one of the musicians there said that John called him one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to Paris. You want to go?" And he said, "Yeah, I thought he was going to Paris, Tennessee." And I said, "No." I said, "No, he's going to Paris, France."
He's been all over Europe. He's been to Japan. I mean, the level of influence that this man has had musically is it's incredible. And to have his house, we feel very, very fortunate to have.
Okay.
All right, so we're about to head into Flag Grove School. It's the first school that Tina Turner ever attended. So as you see around me, we have the Tina Turner collection. This is for the Tina Turner Museum. We have, not only do we have the original parts of the school, but we also have memorabilia of hers. So we have gold records, we have her costumes when she did performances. we have certain snapshots that give you kind of a feel of her career, which is so special, and we are so happy to have these. And I think it gives a great, great definition of how impacting she was in modern and pop culture for music and cinema, and just over and above and beyond. She's a very talented woman.
Did she donate these items to you, or are they on loan to the museum?
Yes, she donated them to
Wow.
us.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's
Yes,
pretty
their
amazing.
permanent home is here. Yes.
Okay. So she obviously is very supportive of this.
Yes, she is very supportive, and we did a lot to work with her and collaborate with her and her assistant to put this vision that they both had and our vision into fruition. So,
All right. So is there part of the school that is showcased there, or is it all this type of material here?
it's just different. Like, so we have everything, like I said, from her costuming, and one of my the most my favorite pieces we have is now this wasn't in the movie, but this is during her performances that she did. We Don't Need Another Hero, that from the Mad Max, the third one. This one is Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. So
Okay.
this she utilized during her performances when she sang "We Don't Need Another Hero."
Okay.
It's a great piece because everybody loves Mad Max, and so
Right.
they'll remember, when she was on Entity, and it pretty much emulates the one that she wore in the feature film as well.
Now, in
So
behind you
we
there, is that the school itself, kind of, that we're seeing in behind you?
so all of these pieces are original from the school. So we have
Wow.
the chalkboard here. We have the different desks as well as the pews. So everything here is original. If we When we entered in the school, there were cubbies. So they were, it was turned into a barn, but it was very well preserved,
Preserved.
and we're very lucky to have them just so we can show what the school was like. The stage as well is original. It was utilized, for different performances or teacher. And right behind it is another. We have a map here of the different countries and such. If you look closely, if you're here, you can see where she performed during her career. So it shows the different places she toured.
So this stage was actually in that school then?
Yes, yes, it was.
Okay, wow. So she stood on that stage
Yes, she did, and she probably sat at these desks as well.
as well. That is,
Mhm.
it is amazing that that was preserved.
The last thing I will show, again, one of my favorites, is Tina Turner's yearbook. So,
Wow.
and yep, that's when she was Anna Mae Bullock, and there's her photo right there. It's just the things that we have here. It's incredible, and it's a nice surprise for people to come in thinking like, oh, Tina Turner, you have all her performances, and then you just kind of see her, in this youthful photo. It's just like, wow, like, she's a person just like you and me, and she went
Yeah.
to school, and she had a yearbook photo taken. So it's pretty special.
It's an amazing life, amazing career. It certainly is.
Absolutely.
Hey, John, I really appreciate you carrying us through the all the different aspects of this museum. It's a wonderful museum and exhibit. We appreciate the time very much.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you having us, and it's been fun, Steve.
Well, we want to remind people that the West Tennessee Delta Heritage Center is at exit 56, just north of Interstate 40, and right there behind the McDonald's in that area. You're open 6 days a week from 9 till 5, Tuesday through Saturday, and 1 till
Yep.
5 on Sundays, right?
Yes, that's correct. We're closed on Mondays. We're doing a deep clean because of the COVID-19.
There are special exhibits that are on display different times. We had the suffrage exhibit and other things happening. How can people best keep up with what's happening at the museum?
Well, we have our social media platforms of Facebook and Instagram, and we are always posting what's the latest and greatest of upcoming exhibitions. And I do my Curator's Corner segment there every week about different objects in the museum, and as well as museum trivia. So if you'd like to go and get tested on there, definitely follow there.
Well, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks to you, and thanks to Sonia for this tour. We appreciate it very much. Thanks to everyone in Brownsville for this visit. Thanks to you for being with us. And stay with us here at E+ TV6, because this is the place where the dialogue continues.